Hill, you know I don't like to be disturbed while reading.
Yes, sir.
Hill, take this book to the library. I don't want Miss Lydia to read it.
Very good, sir.
My dear Mr. Bennett, have you heard the news?
I've not.
It's of tremendous importance to all of us.
Can't it wait until I finish this chapter?
No! This means more than any book that has ever been written. The great house in Netherfield has been let at last.
Not really.
Yes, it's true. Miss Thorne has just been here and told me. Well, don't you want to know who has taken it?
You want to tell me I have no objection to hearing it?
Well, my dear, he's a young man of large fortune from the north of England. He has just been installed with a retinue of servants.
What's his name?
His name is Bingley.
Married or single?
Oh, single, my dear, to be sure. With 4,000 or 5,000 a year. What a splendid thing for one of our girls.
How so? How could it affect them?
Mister, how can you be so tiresome? You must know I'm thinking of him marrying one of them.
Is that his design in settling here?
Design? Nonsense. It's quite likely that he will fall in love with one of them. So you see, you must visit him as soon as possible.
Oh, I see no occasion for that, Miss Bennett. You and the girls may go, or you may send them by themselves. That might be wiser, for you are as handsome as any of them. Mr. Bingley might like you the best of the party.
Oh, my dear, you flatter me. But when a woman has 3 grown daughters, it's time she gave thinking over her own beauty. But you will call him Mr. Bingley at once.
Oh, come now. That's going rather far. You know my habit.
Mr. Bennett, do you never think of your daughters' futures? Do you realize that with our state entailed that they would be practically penniless when you die? To think of that odious cousin of yours, that Collins.
Oh, Miss Bennett, I've received a letter.
We're not talking about letters. We're talking about Collins, odious creature inheriting our home, and you entailing your state away from your own daughters.
Miss Bennett, is it impossible for you to grasp that the law of entail was not of my devising? The law dictates that all estates shall be inherited by male descendants only. And we have no son, as possibly you remember.
Mr. Bennett, how can you criticize me? You have no compassion for my nerves.
You are mistaken, my dear. I have a high regard for your nerves. I've heard you mention them with consideration these last 20 years.
Yes, but you don't know what I suffer.
There, dear. Have a nice little cry. Always seems to help those nerves.
Lady Lucas and Miss Lucas, ma'am.
Oh, good Lord. I think I'll go out and get some air. My horse needs exercising. I'll be back in half an hour, Miss Bennett. For tea.
Back for tea. Let him miss his tea. It will do him good. Ah, yes, I am in time to see you. Find the young lady's hill and then tea.
Oh, let me get you near the fire. I am positively frozen. We only have a few moments to spend with you.
Have you heard about our new neighbors?
Yes, we have met the young man, Miss Bennett. Charming, perfectly charming. Charlotte is quite smitten with him, aren't you, my love?
Oh, there's no use being smitten. The moment he sets eyes on Jane.
Yes, we'll really have to get Jane out of the way.
Who's going to get
Not
me
if I
out
can
of the
prevent
way?
it.
Lady Lucas.
Hello, Charles. Hello, everybody. I mean, good afternoon. Moment. How do you like my new dress?
I think it's sweetly pretty. Girls, Lady Lucas has met Mr. Bingley.
Sir William had met him in London and is delighted with him. Young, handsome, extremely agreeable, and rich, my dears.
I must get Mr. Bennett to call tomorrow.
You'll have to wait a few days. He's gone into London on business.
Are you sure?
Certainly. He was to dine with us yesterday, and we received a note to regret that he was called in London. Charlotte was so disappointed. Weren't you, dear?
Yes, Mama.
Indeed. Well, I can't imagine what the young man has to do in London so soon after his arrival in Hertfordshire. I certainly hope he will not be flying about from one place to another instead of settling down in Netherfield as he ought.
Surely, Mama, he has a right to go to London if he wishes.
He only went for the night. He may be back to it today. He's giving a ball at Michaelmas.
I must get Mr. Bennett to call.
He is bringing his sister Caroline back with him. She's to keep house. of the Lady Catherine de Bourgh.
I never believed in marriage between cousins. But the engagement is only a report, Lady Lucas.
Yes, so far, but he's a very high and mighty young man, Miss Bennet. He wouldn't look at anyone under a peer's daughter. His mother was Lady Anne Darcy, sister of Lady Catherine de Bourgh. Oh, very effeminate.
Then Charlotte isn't in the running either.
Mama,
Please.
you forget, dear Miss Bennet, that since Sir William was knighted by His Majesty, Charlotte has been presented at court.
Mr. Bennet was born a gentleman, Lady Lucas. Isn't it fortunate for us? My girls don't need to be presented.
Lady Lucas, do let me give you some fresh tea.
No, thank you, dear. Come, Charlotte, we have other calls to make.
Unusual friends, Lady Lucas.
Oh, only the Longs and perhaps the Hamiltons.
Dear Jane.
Ah, my child, if only Charlotte had been endowed with a quarter of your good looks, you'll certainly be the belle of the Bingley ball. Though it's true that sometimes men prefer character. Goodbye, Miss Bennet.
Goodbye, Lady Lucas.
Goodbye, my dears. Thank you for the delightful tea.
Well, what a cat that woman is. Men for character, do they?
I can't say I have noticed it, but if she means that our dear Janie lacks it, that's her mistake.
Oh, she's only jealous. Poor Charlotte was squirming all over.
She doesn't mean anything by it. Perhaps I haven't any character. As long as you all love me, I don't mind. You have the loveliest character in the world, darling. Mama, weren't your eyes a little bit red earlier? You weren't crying before the Lucases came, were you?
Yes, your papa. Of all the selfish, inconsiderate men, disobliging, cantankerous.
What unspeakable thing has he done this time?
He refuses to call him Mr. Bingley for no reason in the world.
Did you ask him to?
Of course.
And you call that no reason? Why, don't you know yet that men instinctively refuse everything we ask them to do and end by doing it?
Why, that doesn't sound sensible.
Who said they were sensible? I'll wager that Papa is on his way to Netherfield at this very moment.
Well, who cares whether we meet Mr. Bingley or not? I don't, for one. I prefer men in uniform.
Oh yes, Army officers always make excellent companions. You can talk to them about one thing and be thinking of something else at the exact same time.
I don't see why.
I couldn't imagine any intelligent man voluntarily choosing a regimented life.
Really, Lizzie, I can't imagine where you get your queer ideas. But what makes you think your father?
Well, upon my word.
What is it?
Lydia, you shouldn't be staring out. Why, it's your father and two gentlemen. Good gracious, Elizabeth, you're uncanny. I believe they're our new neighbors.
You see, one can't always tell what they will do.
Lizzie, how clever you are.
Oh, my dears, none of your dressing or talking is go.
Miss Bennet, allow me to present our new neighbors. Mr. Bingley, my wife. Mr. Darcy, my wife and my daughters. Miss Jane, Miss Elizabeth, and Miss Lydia. Have you that tea for us, Miss Bennet?
Oh, I'm all of a tremble. Lydia, read for him, my love. So charmed, my dear sirs.
Your servant, ma'am.
I was riding to Netherfield to follow these gentlemen and actually met them en route to the village. What is so funny about that?
Never mind. It is so nice to have some eligible young men in the neighborhood at last, Mr. Bingley. I hope we shall see you often this winter.
I think I can promise that, ma'am.
I hope you are finding our part of the country to your liking, Mr. Darcy.
I do not care for the country, Miss Bennet.
What a pity. Then it must irk you to feel compelled to live in it. Lady Lucas was telling us of your estate at Pemberley.
What? Not care for the country, sir? Surely you don't prefer London to Devonshire.
One moves in such a confined circle outside big cities.
Indeed. Well, I, for one, don't agree with you. The only advantages big cities have over us is their shops. It's true you can't buy anything you want in the high street of Meryton. It certainly upsets me at times.
Does it?
I hear from Miss Long that your drawing room has such a charming prospect of the gravel walk. I've never known a place in the country to equal Netherfield for its view. I hope you will not be leaving us soon, even though you only have such a short lease.
I see you've not been idle, Miss Bennet.
Everything I do is done in a hurry. When I fall in love, I expect it will be the same.
That is not something to boast about, my dear fellow. It's a sign of a far from solid character.
Thank goodness for that. Mr. Bingley seems far too charming for solidity.
You begin to understand me, Miss Bennet.
Perfectly.
Is that a compliment? To be so transparent.
In this case, yes. It is not always the deep people who are the most charming.
The charming ones often cause the most trouble, though.
So you are a student of character, Miss Bennet.
At times.
Oh, but you must have little opportunity to exercise your gift here.
On the contrary, sir.
I am of the opinion that those who live in the country belong to the country.
Well, as for me, I like them both. City or country, wherever I am, I'm happy. Give me a horse, a long road, a whiff of hay, and a country road.
That's because you have a nice disposition, Mr. Bingley. That gentleman seems to think that green fields are beneath him.
Mama, you misunderstand Mr. Darcy. He simply means that city people are different from us. May I get you some more tea, Mr. Darcy? I'm sure yours has grown cold.
No, thank you. It is to my liking. I rarely drink it warmer.
You know Sir William Lucas, I believe, Mr. Bingley.
Yes, ma'am. He was one of the first gentlemen to honor me with the visit.
What an agreeable man. So much the fan of fashion, so genteel and easy. Always something to say to everybody. That, Mr. Bingley, is my idea of breeding. Not those people who fancy themselves too important to open their mouths except to criticize.
It might be well to give them less cause, Miss Bennet.
I am sorry you were not here earlier, Mr. Bingley. My friend Charlotte Lucas was here. Oh, Mr. Bingley, it's such a shame that poor Charlotte is so plain.
She seems a very pleasant young woman.
Oh, yes, very. But her face...
Miss Bennet, what about releasing the gentleman to come to the library for a glass of Madeira wine? That homicidal feeling is creeping over me that invariably attacks me at your tea parties.
That's very good news, sir, but I must be getting back to Netherfield. My sister is alone.
You mustn't believe my husband really wishes to murder my guests, sir. He's not such a bear as he pretends. If you continue to say things like that, then the gentleman will begin to pity me.
Oh, Mrs. Bennet, we should never dream of pitying you.
Your servant, then. I trust we may expect your visit to Netherfield very soon with your daughters. My sister is impatient to receive you.
Tell Miss Bingley we shall call tomorrow. I want to make quite certain of securing you both for our little assembly next month.
Oh, that's very kind of you, ma'am.
We usually give a ball around this time.
We shall be prodigiously pleased to come.
Whatever is Mama talking of?
Jane, he likes you.
Likes me? Why, Lizzie, whoever do you mean?
I don't mean Mr. Darcy, for I doubt that he likes anyone, with the probable exception of himself. But, Mr. Bingley, there is a gentleman of rare intelligence and perception. From the moment he first laid eyes on you, he could look at no one else. I approve of him for that.
Oh, my darling Lizzie, for all the worldly wisdom do you delight to assume? With a truly romantic heart.
What? Never have I been so insulted.
Do not dare to deny it. And someday, some man will discover it, and he will make you love him. Desperately, marvelously.
Perhaps, my sweet. But I've yet to meet the man who could inspire so much as a flicker of interest.
Not Mr. Darcy?
That Mr. Darcy. What a disagreeable, horrid man. Dear me, there's no enduring him.
But what a darling Mr. Bingley is.
Quite the gentleman. I flatter myself I made quite an impression on Mr. Bingley.
Nothing to the impression you made on Mr. Darcy, Mrs. Bennet.
I have no desire to impress such an ill-bred young man. I don't want his admiration.
Well, it sounds like a veritable coincidence to me.
What an excellent father you have, my dears. I don't know how you will ever repay him for his kindness. Or me either, for that matter.
Well, has His Royal Highness departed? Heavens, I hope I never meet such a conceited prig ever again.
Oh, Lindsay, my love, where did you get to?
I couldn't stand the majestic atmosphere of Mr. Darcy, Mama. He made me feel much too inferior.
Well, never mind that. Even though you are the youngest, you're just as pretty as Lizzie. Mr. Bingley is sure to dance with you at our ball.
Our ball? What ball, Mama?
The one your papa and I are giving next month.
Thank you for the news of my intentions, Miss Bennett. But may I crave a little further information?
Why don't you tell us beforehand of your intentions, Mama?
Well, I only knew it myself just before I said it.
I may be unduly inquisitive, Miss Bennett, but may I ask who is going to pay for all of this nonsense?
You, of course, you silly man. How do you ever expect me to find husbands for your daughters if you persist on being so stingy with me?
Oh, you must invite all the officers from Colonel Forrester's regiment, Mama. I'll give you their names.
Only those with private incomes, my dear, and it's just as easy to fall in love with one of them.
Miss Bennett, I have a confession to make. I have a surprise for you.
Confession, Mr. Bennett, what have you been up to?
Mama always expects the worst. Never mind, Papa, I'll stand by you.
It's about that letter. I received it a week ago, and I did try to tell you about it this afternoon, but as usual, I couldn't induce you to listen. It was from a gentleman who...
I suppose in your own good time you shall know what you are talking about.
I hope you have an extra nice dinner for this evening, my dear.
The dinners I serve you are usually excellent, Mr. Bennett. But why this evening specially?
Because we're to have an addition to the family circle for a few weeks. Our guests shall arrive any time now.
Mr. B, you have been the death of me with your slow way of telling things. A guest. May one ask the gentleman's name?
Mr. William Collins. My cousin. You know, the popular gentleman who may turn you all out as soon as he pleases once I am dead.
How you love your little jokes, my dear. As if that odious creature would have the impudence to show his face here. I can't stand the idea of Collins coming and taking my home when you die. If it were not for the entail, I shouldn't mind it.
Now, Miss Bennett, if you quiet a moment, I will tell you his reason for inviting himself. Your heart may be softened.
Indeed it will not. I find it very impertinent of him to invite himself, and very hypocritical. And I shall be very reserved with him, very reserved indeed.
My dear, in his letter, he hinted, only hinted, mind you, that he wishes to look over our daughters with the object of choosing one for a wife, in order to partly atone for the guilt of inheriting his estate.
So he must have some proper feeling.
Can he be a sensible man, sir?
He sounds to me a bit of an ass.
Lydia! Is that the proper way to speak of a clergyman?
I thought I heard you refer to him as an odious creature a few minutes ago, Mama.
That, my dear, antedate is becoming a matrimonial prospect.
Mr. Bennett, sir?
Ah, Hill. We are expecting Collins for dinner, to stay for several weeks.
Yes, about that, ma'am. Sir, the guest arrived and I showed him to his quarters just as you instructed.
Oh, right? Why, Mr. Bennett, is that?
Yes, ma'am. Mr. William Collins.
Cousin! At last! You can't imagine how interested your letters have made me in this meeting.
Your most obedient servant.
Miss Bennett, allow me to present the Reverend Mr. Collins, our esteemed cousin. My wife, sir, and my three daughters, Miss Jane, Miss Elizabeth, Miss Lee.
I have been long anxious to come. I am grateful, ma'am, that my overtures were so graciously accepted by you.
Not at all, dear cousin. We have been looking forward to this happy occasion.
And I must compliment you, ma'am, on so fine a family of daughters. I had heard much of their beauty, but in this instance, fame falls far short of the truth. There is no doubt that you will soon see them well disposed in marriage.
It is so nice of you to say that, dear cousin. Indeed, we will certainly need to find the rich husbands. Things are arranged so very oddly.
You doubtless allude to the entail of the estate, ma'am?
Ah, 'tis indeed a grievous affair. Not that I blame you. Far from it. We all know who is to blame.
Yes, indeed. I am very sensitive to the hardships of my fair cousins. But I have come with a plan. And perhaps when we are all better acquainted.
Oh, Mr. Collins, I must say that Hill is getting out some of Mr. Bennett's better points. Come, Lydia, and help me.
Oh, you are hospitality itself, my dear Mrs. Bennett.
And in the meantime, dear Mr. Collins, do proceed with your plan.
According to your letters, cousin, you seem to be prodigious fortunate in your patronage.
Ah, The Lady Catherine Dayburn?
Lady Catherine Dayburn.
Ah, you know her ladyship, cousin?
Only by name, sir. We do not mingle with such exalted society at Meryton.
Well, do not be downhearted, Miss Elizabeth. Stranger things have happened, I assure you. And when you do meet her ladyship, believe me, you will agree that it is the greatest of privileges. Why, she has actually invited me to dine at her mansion, Rosings, twice, and sent for me only last Sunday to make up her pool at Quadrille. Yes, indeed. Her ladyship is considered proud and haughty by many people, but I have seen nothing but affability and condescension.
Do you live near her ladyship, cousin?
The garden in which stands my humble abode is separated only by a lane from Rosing Park.
You certainly are blessed, sir.
I try to remain worthy of my good fortune, sir. I often observe to her ladyship that her charming daughter seemed born to be a duchess. These remarks often please a mother who is nobly born, and it is the sort of attention I feel it my duty to pay.
You certainly have a high sense of duty. Tell me, does it come naturally, or do you think it out?
No, it is quite natural with me, sir.
Oh, the dressing bell. We dine at 7:30, Mr. Collins.
And after dinner, my dear cousins, if you care for it, I am considered a very good reader. I will be glad to read aloud to you as we gather round the fire.
Oh, that will be entrancing. We have a vast deal of novels.
Novels? Oh, my dear cousin, I never read such works. But I have brought with me an excellent volume of Fordyce's sermons.
it is my privilege to offer it to you.
Oh, my dear Miss Amelia. Oh, my dear Captain Denny. Have you ever in your lives had such an utterly delightful time?
Never, Miss Lydia. Upon my honor.
It has been tiring.
I know my own mama and papa are giving the ball, and I should run on about it so, but I can't help it. I really can't.
And why shouldn't you? Some shrub, Miss Lydia.
No. Papa says I mustn't. He says it's too strong. He thinks of me as a child.
Papas are all like that. Should we return to the ballroom, Captain Danny?
By all means.
Mr. Wickham.
Your servant, ma'am. But there's something most grievously wrong here.
Wrong?
That you should be alone for an instant. It is a reflection on the intelligence of every gentleman present, though one so young and so surpassingly fair should lack in escorts.
Mr. Wickham, you officers talk as beautifully as you look.
Our lives of grim duty make us doubly appreciative, Miss Lydia. After the rigors of camp life, it is a sheer delight to find oneself in such elegant company, in such fine a house.
You must see many houses that are finer.
There are not many that speak so much of quiet utility, a perfect setting for such an exquisite ornament as.
As what, Mr. Wickham?
Need I say, Miss Lydia?
Why, yes, I think you might.
Your father was an oldie man, Bennett. But I must say that his greatest treasure is his youngest daughter.
Ah, my dear Lydia, and my dear Mr. Wickham.
Your servant, ma'am.
Have you seen our conservatory, Mr. Wickham?
Ah, yes, I've only been.
Ah, do take Mr. Wickham to see our conservatory. We have some tropical things of some kind. I can never remember those dreadful Latin names, but they're peculiarly fine specimens.
Do come, Mr. Wickham.
With the utmost pleasure.
Think of it. My youngest daughter at virtually the marriable age. Isn't it incredible?
With great dawn, she must find herself in a permanent state of credibility.
Indeed. It makes us so entertaining, doesn't it? Camp us some shrub, Lady Lucas. Mr. Bennett promised me it would be the most honest. Ah, my dear, do go in and dance. The musicians get so discouraged if everyone stays in the conservatory.
I've noticed how fond you are of my Charlotte.
Oh, indeed, Lady Lucas, you must not feel that way. Charlotte is such a sensible girl.
That means it's going to be difficult to find her a husband. You should know how little regard gentlemen have for sense in young ladies, dear Miss Bennett.
Indeed, I'm not much of an authority on such matters. I was married so young.
Yes, I know that.
Ah, to be young again. Mr. Bennett is not a bit romantic. Don't you think our husbands...
Tiffany, Mama, and you, Lady Lucas, shame on you.
Oh, Lizzie, there's nothing in this. Your dear Papa promised.
Then my dear Papa must have been a bit absent-minded when he made the mixture. It's violently potent.
Oh, Lady Lucas, perhaps we best not finish our cups.
Your guests are awaiting you, Mama.
Charlotte, I hope you are particularly nice to Mr. Darcy.
As nice as I may be, Mrs. Bennett.
None of my girls can abide him.
Is it not a relief to get away from all those dancing dervishes? Will you have some of the shrub, Charlotte?
Mr. Bingley was saying what a good idea it was to have it away from the supper room, where a fellow could have his tipple in peace. Nice young gentleman, isn't he?
Quite charming. Jane seems to think so too. How lovely the darling looks tonight. Her eyes are like stars. But I wonder if her shyness is such an asset, though.
You fear Bingley might need encouragement?
Few men possess enough heart to really be in love without it, Charles.
I imagine Bingley will get the needed encouragement this evening. He seems to be enjoying himself immensely.
I hope so. For myself, I call it deadly dull. All I can see is a number of brainless young men and eager young ladies prancing about awkwardly to the strains of tepid music. Do you think this sort of thing is fun, Charles?
It's a means to an end. Surely Miss Caroline Bingley was warning enough against spinsterhood.
Is a warning necessary?
Did you notice? The fair young Lydia is trying to progress in the ballroom. Right under the maternal nose too, and your mother just beamed on her.
Oh yes, Mama is shocked if the gentleman glimpses our ankles. But to let him understand that he may attain complete possession is perfectly proper.
Dear me, my feet ache.
What do you think of that new man, Mr. Wickham? Very attractive, isn't he?
That delectable Collins trot all over
But
me.
are you trying to evade my question, Charlotte?
About Wickham, I noticed Miss
you thinking of? The evening is nearly over. You must dance. Come, be a good fellow.
I do realize I am not contributing much to the gaiety of this assembly, but I do find it hard to be a good fellow on such an occasion.
But aren't any of the young ladies to your taste?
I should call them all uncommonly pretty.
And Miss Jane is the prettiest of them all. Really, Darcy, you're notoriously lacking in appreciation. But have you ever seen anyone more exquisitely lovely?
If you wish me to agree with you, I shall be glad to do so.
And what of her sister? She's quite pretty too.
Miss Elizabeth.
Yes.
She is the one above all others that I hope to avoid.
But really, she is most agreeable.
On the contrary, she is the most disagreeable young woman I have ever had the ill luck to meet.
Shame on you, Darcy. She's a wonderful girl. Find out for yourself.
Very well, for your sake. I'll only stand up with her once.
You may change your mind.
Why do we tolerate that man?
No doubt because he is also very rich. Those who do not envy the tribe adore it.
Very well. I shall see that he does not come here again.
You forget, dear, that he is the bosom friend of Bingley and might influence him against Jane.
Hi, Miss Elizabeth. I was looking for you to bid you good night. You'll excuse me something very unpleasant.
Unpleasant. Here.
I would rather not talk about it.
But Mr. Wickham, I insist.
Just now, in the ballroom, Mr. Darcy.
Mr. Darcy? What has he done?
Your mother wished to introduce me to Miss Bingley. Mr. Darcy was with her at the time, and they declined to be introduced.
This is beyond bearing. But why, I never knew you two had even met before.
We knew each other only too well.
And yet he declined to meet you. There usually is some reason for a gentleman to refuse a fellow guest.
A gentleman would have more consideration for his hostess.
I am not qualified to form any opinion on Mr. Darcy. I've known him too long and too well to be a fair judge.
But Mr. Wickham, why has he offered you such an affront?
Please do not ask me, Miss Bennet. I do not wish to injure him in your eyes. Allow me to say goodnight. You might come in. I would not subject you to a repetition of the disgrace we've seen happen in the ballroom.
Indeed, he would never dare.
But may I ask you why you're so anxious to avoid him, Mr. Wickham?
I have no reason other than a very great sense of injustice.
Injustice. I'm full of sympathy.
You're so kind, Miss Bennet.
Tell me, where did you know him from?
My father. He was the manager of the Darcy estate in Devonshire.
Oh,
When the elder Darcy died, he left instruction that his son should bestow upon me a sum of money.
May one ask why, Mr. Wickham?
I was his godson. He was quite fond of me. I was also to receive a clerical living as a part of his gift at Pemberley.
but surely Mr. Darcy obeyed his dead father's wishes.
He denied me both the living and the money.
The wretch!
I was forced to join the army, a life I detest.
But what can have induced him to behave so cruelly?
A determined dislike for me, which I can only attribute to jealousy.
Indeed, I do not like Mr. Darcy. I could hardly believe him dishonest.
And I should have thought him too proud to be.
Thank you for your sympathies, Miss Elizabeth. They've been so precious to me. Forgive me for inflicting this all upon you, but your heart is so kind. Please, allow me to say goodnight. Convey my apologies and regrets to Miss Bennet. I will go this way.
There is a sample of Darcy for you.
I don't like emotional men. The reserve of Darcy is preferable. Surely, Lizzie, there must be two sides to this affair.
Yes, a right and a wrong.
Oh, Miss Elizabeth, they are playing the last extras. May I have the honor?
I am sorry, but I am too tired to dance anymore. Besides, I fear the honor would be more than I could bear.
If I had the misfortune of offending you,
It is rather Mr. Wickham whom you have offended, sir. One of my mother's guests.
it is more than he merits, ma'am.
I beg your pardon, but I found him to be quite charming, and I am sure my mother did as well.
True, he is blessed with the charm that allows him to make new friendships, but he certainly lacks the talent to retain them.
He certainly lacked the talent to retain yours. Did you enjoy the music, Mr. Darcy?
Very much, thank you.
It is your
Your turn to make a remark now.
Whatever you wish me to say, you may consider said.
Very well. I dare say there are times when it is best to limit conversations to yes or no.
Are you consulting your own wishes, or do you believe you are gratifying mine?
Both. I recognize our similarities. We are each unsociable and taciturn, reluctant to speak unless we can say something that will astonish the entire room, or be headed down to posterity.
I hardly think that describes your character, Miss Bennet. I believe you are merely describing my own and include yourself out of pity for my wounded feelings.
Have you any, Mr. Darcy?
Evidently, you have decided about that one.
I hear such different accounts of you. I am puzzled. When you are present, those reports seem difficult to believe.
Why try to solve the puzzle?
Well, are you ready, Mr. Darcy? Almost everyone's gone. You haven't danced much, Miss Bennet.
No, there was a scarcity of gentlemen, and I prefer to leave them for our guests. I trust you have plenty of partners, Miss Bingley. Won't you sit while waiting for your brother?
Thank you. I expect you'll come here for me. You danced a good deal with that Mr. Wickham. I didn't know that he was a friend of yours. How did you ever meet him?
He came here with Colonel Forrester. He seems a very fine young man and is also a gentleman.
What curious taste you have, Miss Elizabeth.
We are speaking of one of my mother's guests, Miss Bingley.
Well, I hear you're quite delighted with him. Did you know that his father was merely a steward on the Darcy estate? A sort of servant? No doubt he told you that Mr. Darcy had injured him.
He did?
Do let me caution you not to give too much credence to his tales. The truth happens to be just the contrary. I'm sorry you are to be disillusioned, but what can you expect, considering his origin?
That seems to be his chief fault in your eyes, Miss Bingley. People don't arrange their origins in advance, nor have I observed that the well-born are invariably the well-bred. I think perhaps you attach too much importance to the accident of birth.
Accident? Really, Miss Bennet?
Didn't you ever learn any biology?
I hope I was never so unfeminine. I am told that you are clever and read books on subjects that only belong to gentlemen. Well, won't get you very far.
When you speak of getting far, I suppose you are referring to my marriage with one of them?
Certainly. And you are going the wrong way about it, I assure you. Men detest clever women.
Then why did you allow them to discover how clever you are, Miss Bingley? I must get my wraps. Are you coming, Lizzie?
I will tell your brother you are waiting for him.
Ill-bred young woman. I can imagine what you're thinking, Mr. Darcy.
I doubt it.
Oh, yes. You and I are too much alike for me not to feel your disgust at such people. That's Elizabeth, forward, overeducated. I'm longing to get home to Netherfield to hold forth on that family.
I was actually thinking about what beautiful eyes can do on the face of a woman.
Who is the lady?
Miss Elizabeth Bennet.
Goodness, I am all astonishment. How long has she been in favor? And when am I to wish you joy?
Exactly what I expected you to say. A woman's imagination is so rapid it jumps from admiration to love, and from love to marriage in an instant.
Nay, if you are serious about it, I shall consider you already married. You will certainly encounter no opposition. And what a charming mother-in-law you will have.
I can allay your fears for my future, Miss Bingley, but I have no doubts that Miss Bennet shall soon be married. But not to me.
I am glad to hear you say that, Mr. Darcy. Well, the family really is impossible. The mother especially.
You should have danced more with the others.
Dance with the others when you are there.
Charles.
Have you noticed Charles? He seems to be falling in love with Jane. Of course, I'm very fond of her. She is a dear, sweet girl. But my dearest ambition has always been to see Charles and your sister, Georgiana. I should hate to hurt her, but my brother's interests do come first.
I cannot believe he's really serious about it. I'll talk to him tonight. I'll go and hurry him.
Ah, Mr. Darcy, I have only just realized that you are the nephew of my revered patroness, Lady Catherine. I want to apologize for not having paid my respects earlier. I'm happy to inform you that your noble aunt is enjoying robust health. I heard from her only yesterday, in fact. She bids me speed my wooing and hurry home.
What wooing, Mr. Collins? Are you contemplating marriage?
It is a secret as yet, ma'am. But as you are friends of the family...
The family?
Yes, it is Miss Elizabeth. I have chosen her to be mistress of my parsonage.
May I congratulate you, Mr. Collins? A most suitable marriage. I don't imagine you will be refused. It is no easy matter for girls without wealth or connections to find suitable husbands, especially when they're hampered with an oversupply of intelligence.
Oh, no. You do her an injustice, Miss Bingley. I'm sure that my dear cousin is not on sex with too much brain. I shouldn't like that at all, you know. Now, may I hope to see something of you, sir, when next you visit your revered relative?
Have I kept you waiting?
Charles, here at last.
Awfully sorry, but I have been having such a splendid time.
That reminds me. You will all excuse me, but there is a certain young lady who commands my most ardent attention.
Well, I fancy that Miss Elizabeth's intelligence will keep her away from that particular calamity.
Are we all ready? I said goodnight to our hostess.
I'd like a brazier before our cold drive. Anybody else?
By the way, Charles, what was it Jane told you about her uncle?
I dislike speaking badly of a man I've never met before. He's an attorney.
Good heavens.
And lives at Cheapside.
Well, if Jane and Elizabeth have enough uncles to fill all Cheapside, does it make them one less bit lovable and charming?
Shocking. He's gone on a gifted carriage for 12 months.
Yes, father's the gift of the town of the season.
And how you will adorn it, Mr. Boyce.
It was most kind of you to allow me the happiness of standing up with you.
How can I protest, sir?
True, but it does materially lessen their chances of marriage with men of any importance in the world.
Well, darling, you've had a happy time. I've noticed you as
Lizzie, I'm too happy. Frightens me.
my darling. Happiness belongs to you. You are so sweet and good. Is it Charles? Has he made you an offer, dearest?
Oh no, Lizzie. You know he will ask my father divorce. But I know he will. Oh, I know.
One can't always be so sure in these matters. What makes you so sure?
He kissed me, Lizzie.
Well then, darling, you're as good as married!
Lydia, I shouldn't, really. You know, the master will be prodigiously vexed if he catches you with a journal. He will be so upset for the rest of the day, he can't stand a fussed-up journal.
What he doesn't know won't hurt him.
Oh, Miss Lydia, you don't understand. If there is even the slightest crease, it turns him up. Oh, he knows if even a fly walks on it. Please, Miss Lydia.
Be quiet, Hill.
Oh, Miss Lydia, I shall get the brunt of it.
Do you good.
Lydia, naughty girl, put that journal down at once. It's Mr. Bennet cost enough in the morning.
I only wanted to see if there were orders from the captain of the regiment. I was watching the door.
Well, you know if he even caught the merest glimpse of you near that table, the business would be settled. I simply couldn't cope with any more ill temper for one morning. And you better fold it exactly as it was. I'm sure I don't know what makes men so tiresome at breakfast time.
At breakfast time? I do wish I knew where the regiment was to be stationed, Mama.
Don't waste your time, my love. You are worthy of something more secure than a penniless fellow in a uniform.
But think about how the uniforms show off their dashing figures, Mama.
Upon my word, I think you must be the silliest creature in the country. I've suspected it for some time, and now I am convinced.
I am astonished, Mr. Bennet, that you are so quick to think your own daughter silly. If I were to think that way of anyone's child, it certainly wouldn't be my own.
If my children are idiots, I hope I am intelligent enough to know it.
You can't expect Lydia to have as much sense as her mother. I dare say Lydia doesn't think any more of a man in uniform than I did her age. I thought Mr. Wickham looked very becoming in his regiments last week.
Mama, my Aunt Philip says that Colonel Forrester and Mr. Wickham are quite often standing in front of Clark's library at Barrington. Couldn't Lizzie Jane and I walk to the village this afternoon?
For God's sake, go get something useful to do. Get to your studies, and don't let me listen to any more of this foolishness.
Papa, I think you handle Lydia the wrong way. She's only a baby yet. Soldiers are romantic to her.
I only hope she gets more sense as she grows older, though I doubt it ever comes if it isn't born in a female.
I suppose our dear cousin Collins is preparing a sermon for Sunday.
Oh, are we really to be bereft of his sparkling society in only a few days? You have changed your opinion on him, Miss Bennet. He still inherits this entire estate.
Ah, but I fancy it's going to stay in the family after all. He seems enchanted with Lizzie, and that and our dear Jane and Mr. Bingley.
You've the whole thing settled, eh? Do the gentlemen know of your plans?
Don't be so tiresome, Mr. Bennet.
Jane, will you walk with me to the village this afternoon?
Jane, dear, I thought
I've
you
been
were
waiting to
going
get
to
something
see
for a
me.
while
Jane,
now.
yes,
Ah! There's too much chatter in here. I'm going upstairs to read my paper in peace.
Men have no control whatever over their nerves.
Papa is only teasing you, Mama. Oh, letters.
One for you, Miss Jane. Two for Miss Lizzie. And one for Miss Lydia. Shall I take it to her?
No, give it to me. The child is too young to read her own letters.
And there are several for the master. Shall I take them to him as well?
Yes, he has gone upstairs. Ah, cousin, we have missed you.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. But I had 2 sermons to prepare for in readiness for my return to my parish. Now, nothing remains to be done before my lamented departure Wednesday, except...
Oh, I wonder if I can guess. Oh, you naughty boy.
Have I your permission, and Mr. Bennet's, of course, to pay my addresses to your fair daughter, Miss Elizabeth, ma'am? I should like an interview with her this morning, if possible, before I write to my revered patroness.
Oh, nothing would give me greater pleasure, sir.
Allow me. Then you will persuade her to grant me a private audience?
Of course, Mr. Collins, of course. Lizzie, my love, where did my girls go? They were here just now.
Shyness, no doubt, my dear Mrs. Bennet. Miss Elizabeth, Miss Elizabeth is avoiding me out of maidenly modesty.
Breathe calmly, Mama. Oh, Mr. Collins, have you finished your sermon? If you'll excuse me,
Lizzie, Mr. Collins has something to say to you. Elizabeth, I desire you to remain here.
But Mr. Collins can have nothing to say to me the whole wait, Mama.
It is perfectly understandable, and indeed proper, that a young girl should display this modesty, my dear Mrs. Bennet. Pray, do not blame your charming daughter. Indeed, Miss Elizabeth, it is an added incentive. You can hardly be in doubt as to what I am about to propose, my dear and lovely Elizabeth. Your natural delicacy may lead you to dissemble, but I flatter myself that my attentions have been too marked to be mistaken. I have singled you out as the companion of my future life. And before I allow my feelings to run away with me, I owe it to you to tell you the reasons. That very noble lady, my patroness, has condescended to advise me to marry and even go so far as to promise to actually visit, the lady I bring to the parsonage as my wife, if I choose wisely. Yet another reason, my fair cousin, is that you have the honor of knowing her nephew, Mr. Darcy. The mere fact of your acquaintance with him would do much to recommend you to her favor. And charming and genteel as he is, his manners are as nothing to those of his noble aunts. You can learn so much from her. These, my dear Miss Elizabeth, are my motives. And now, nothing remains but to assure you of the violence of my affection. Of course, I know that 1,000 pounds invested at 4% is all you will have as a dowry. And even that you will not receive until your mother's death, which lamentable event may not occur for several, nay, many years. But you can rest assured that on that score, no ungenerous word of reproach shall pass my lips until after we are married.
Aren't you a little hasty, sir? You seem to forget that I have made no answer to this dazzling offer. I appreciate the honor you have done me, but candor compels me to decline it.
Indeed, I do understand, dear Miss Elizabeth. Yes, it is quite a charming and delicate custom for young ladies to say no when they mean yes. I am therefore not at all discouraged and shall hope to lead you to the altar before very long.
Upon my word, sir, you are difficult to discourage. I assure you I'm not one of those idiotic young ladies you describe, if indeed they exist such out of novels. Difficult as it may seem for you to believe, I will not marry you.
Oh, well, come, Miss Elizabeth.
No, you could not make me happy, and I could not make you so.
Such charming modesty.
What's more, I have no ambition to try. And if your friend, the Lady Catherine de Bourgh, really knew me, she would utterly disapprove of me for this exalted position you offer.
Oh, but if I thought that Lady Catherine would disapprove. But no, impossible. You can be sure that when I have the honor of seeing her ladyship again.
You must ask her to select for you. Only choose a young woman with a more humble and contrite heart.
No, dear cousin, my mind is made up. And I am all too well aware that it is by no means certain that any other gentleman will ever make you an offer. And so, I naturally understand that your rejection of my suit is according to the usual practice of elegant females.
I see. Well, if you can, try to stop thinking of me as an elegant female. Just picture to me as a rational creature with a most inelegant habit of speaking the truth.
You are quite adorable.
Mr. Collins!
I am quite certain that when my proposal is formally sanctioned by your excellent parents, that you will plainly say yes.
No, Mr. Collins, I will as plainly as possible say no. And you need not scamper in front of me again. This time, I'm going out by this door.
She loves me. She loves me.
Well, my dear future son-in-law, am I to wish you joy?
Thank you. Indeed, I do trust that I have every reason to be satisfied. Of course, I know that my dear cousin's refusal naturally springs forth from her bashful modesty and...
Refusal? With her, that does not mean acceptance.
Well, you think she means it.
Oh, don't worry, my dear, don't worry. I'll teach you. Headstrong, foolish girl. She doesn't know her own interests. But I'll teach her, it's okay.
Headstrong. And you say foolish. Oh, but dear me, Mrs. Bennet, those do not sound like qualities of a very desirable wife. If she persists in rejecting my suit, I pray you, madam, I pray you, do not force her. I fear that if she already has those defects, she will hardly succeed in making me happy.
Oh, no, dear, no, you don't understand. She's merely willful and so shy, you can't imagine. She's run away for admiration all her life. She's a veritable gazelle, I assure you. Just wait a minute, just wait. I'll get her papa. You always brings her to reason.
Headstrong, foolish, she says. Hill, oh! There you are, Hill. I have just remembered an important call that I promised to make on Sir William Lucas. Would you be so glad as to saddle one of your master's horses for me?
Yes, fortunately for you, the groom himself was just taking Rancho out for his morning exercise. If we hurry, we can catch him before they saddle. Follow me, sir.
Oh, Mr. Bennet. Oh, Mr. Bennet, you're so slow. We're all in an uproar. Come quickly, you must use your authority. He's gone. Mr. Bennet, you must do something. Elizabeth! Lizzie says she refuses to marry Mr. Collins, and soon he won't marry her. Oh.
My dear, I have not the pleasure of understanding you. What are you talking about?
Of Mr. Collins and Lizzie. Lizzie says she won't have him, and then he'll get in to say he won't have her.
Then it seems entirely settled on both sides. What am I supposed to do?
Tell her you insist on her marrying him. Elizabeth!
Where is the misguided girl?
Here, sir.
Lizzie, take a seat. I understand that Mr. Collins has made you an offer, and that you have refused it.
I have, Papa.
Very well, let's come to the point. Your mother insists on your accepting it. Isn't that so, Miss Bennet?
Or I will never speak to her again.
Well, Lizzie, it seems an unhappy alternative awaits you. From this day forth, you must be a stranger to one of your parents. Your mother will never speak to you again if you do not marry Mr. Collins, and I will never speak to you again if you do.
Thank heaven you're rid of Collins for the day.
What? Where?
He's just ridden off to Lucas's. He can't be back for hours.
Look what you've done, Lizzie, you ungrateful girl. You've lost him. And now that plain-faced, scheming little cat will get him, and he'll turn us all out of here when your father dies.
Charlotte wouldn't look at him.
Not so hasty, Lizzie. Charlotte can't afford to be as particular as you, and she knows it.
Lizzie, how can you decide to be an old maid? What a family I have! Lydia, why didn't you stop him? He might have had you!
Rubbish! Lizzie will be no old maid. Grant men a little judgment, my dear. The ineffable Collins is not the only example of his sex. Thank God.
Oh, Jane, dear.
Yes, Mama, did you want me?
Oh, Jane. Lizzie's done for. or she's going to be an old maid. Crying? Oh, don't tell me anything has gone wrong between you and Mr. Bingley. Oh, my love.
We seem to be three graces nobody wants.
Lydia! Don't worry, Mama, it's nothing. Jane had received a letter from Caroline Bingley from London.
London? You don't mean he is of Netherfield?
They've only gone up to see some of the playhouses, Mama. I'm sure they'll be back.
I think Mr. Bingley should have made an offer for you to your father before going up to London. My dear, he's compromised you enough with his attention.
Don't, Mama!
I'll get Mr. Bennet.
Don't, darling. He'll come back. But Lizzie, he hasn't sent one word. Not one. I can't understand it. Caroline merely tells me they won't be coming back until the spring.
Nonsense. You'll see. He will be here to see Papa before the week is out. Only, darling, don't trust Caroline Bingley. She's very fond of you, I know, but she doesn't want you as her brother's wife.
Oh no, Lizzie. Caroline has been so sweet to me. She's incapable of deceit.
All right, my sweet, believe in her as you do everyone else. One comfort, even she can't persuade Charles that he doesn't love you.
But how can I marry him if his sister is against it?
That is up for you to decide, my dearest little saint. If the anguish of disobliging his captive sister is more than equal to the joy of marrying him, then I advise you refuse.
Naughty girl, Lizzie. You know very well I should marry him if it vexed every relative he has. But if he doesn't come back, I couldn't bear it. I think I might die.
Nonsense. He won't be able not to come back.
Jane, dear, your father and I have decided to let you accept your Aunt Gardner's invitation to spend a few weeks with her and my brother in London.
But Mama, I didn't know my aunt had invited me.
Never mind about that, my love. My letter will be on the way to London tomorrow, and your father is willing to take you up as soon as you can make ready.
Mama!
Well, Mrs. Bennet, you certainly don't believe that marriages are made in heaven.
From what I know of heaven and men, my love, if we left it up to them, we all